Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
I always love that intro.
I know you do. Okay. That's why I do it, just to make you happy.
Yeah, I love it. I actually don't ever go back and listen to these either. I should actually just go back and listen to them in the gym and just have that on repeat on the beginning.
We can record
anytime I'm feeling down or, feeling a little bit inferior, shadow comes up, just listen to the start of the podcast. Boom.
I can't believe you ever feel inferior.
Nah, never.
You mean
I'm a cyborg
guy? That's crazy.
Cyborg without any feelings.
Exactly.
So I'll ask you a question and the listeners a question. So I have noticed a pattern in my own life. And I read something today that really tied a bow around this pattern and confirmed a few things for me. Anyway, and what I read today was, it went something like this, paraphrasing. The way in which you penetrate the world is the same way in which you'll penetrate your woman or your business, right? Mm-hmm. And what I took from that was often the guys that come to us, they have given up a lot of their passions and hobbies to invest more time and energy into work because, hey, I've got to get to 1 million or I've got to get to 10 million because when I get there, life will fall into place. I'll have more time for the kids, more time for, we obviously know that's not true, right? But in the process of that, over those 10, 15, 20 years of the building, life really all becomes about work for the most part. Or the kids are the wife, but it's very little to do with the wife. Often that relationship becomes more of a roommate situation, right? And for me in my own life, I have noticed a pattern of increases in intimacy and connection with Amelia and sex when I'm actually allowed to have it. Yeah, I'll just put a caveat on that. I'm on a 30-day no sex thing right now. So anyway, so sex when I'm actually allowed to have it, and business as well. That when I'm actually investing and prioritizing my own passions outside of work. I mean, this is a passion, right? I love this, and also my health is a passion, and hiking and mountaineering. And when I actually purposely invest, I'll go away for a weekend. Like a prime example, a good friend of mine, been asking me to go to Rome with him for a weekend because he's never been to Rome, wants to go. I've been many times, so, hence good fit. And I found myself putting rules and objections in front of this trip. And I think as businessmen, that's something we can tend to do quite often when it comes to things that can bring us joy. Right? Even simple things. You don't have to be going to Rome, right? But I love to travel. I love Italy. I love the people, the culture. I love Rome. So there's a lot of joy in that trip for me. I love my friend, spending time with him as well. Great conversation. So there's every reason for me to go. But it's almost like there's a narrative of, I can't do that. There's from a previous story. That used to be the story all the time in my head. I can't do that. I can't do that. And I realized as a kid, although playing football, for the most part, I couldn't really it was a real struggle for me to get permission from mainly my dad to do things. And I wonder if I'm speaking this out loud now, I think that's kind of an embedded belief of, I can't do that. So when opportunities arise, instead of being like, fuck, yes, I'm there, I'm all over that, getting excited about it, it'll be a procrastination and a delay. Just in this one particular instance, I'm thinking. But it also can happen in other areas too, other decisions. And the flip side of this is that when you give yourself permission to actually do those things that bring you joy outside of work, 'cause it's very important as well, it's outside of work, then that's you penetrating the world. That's you going out in the world and having experiences, filling your cup and living. Like living a meaningful life that fills you up instead of waiting to live for someday in the future, right? Now, when you take that energy because it's all creation energy, right? Going in and experiencing the world, you feel full, you feel alive. It's creation energy. When you take that same energy into your relationship, your marriage, or with your partner, naturally, in the past for me, it's then open depths of connection and intimacy. And when I then take it into business, things flow easier. And decisions get made with less stress and opportunities open up. So when I read that this morning, the way in which you penetrate the world is the same way in which you penetrate your woman and your business. It really reminded me of a very powerful lesson that I've learned over the past few years, and one that I remind myself of and do my best to practice. And I'm curious, what's your take on this?
No, I laugh about this. We talked about this really briefly, and we said, "Hey, let's hit record." It was a private conversation, and the reason I started laughing about it is because I got excited about the conversation. One of the parts of my normal journal practice is a question I ask myself, which is, "Are you fucking the world?" Which I know we just lost her, but are you bending the world over and fucking it? Right? Are you basically taking all the world has to offer? Right? And making it yours. And it's a concept that I got 9 years ago or so. And it was about, masculine energy and sexual mastery. Right. And the concept, it was a course that I worked with a woman who specializes in this. And that's one of her things for men, right? Men are designed, masculine men, right? Because you can have feminine men. There's nothing wrong with that. But masculine men and masculine energy, that is one of our designs, is to go out there and penetrate the world, just like you would penetrate and open up your woman. Are you doing that in other areas of your life, right? Are you actually, the question I ask myself is, are you bending the world over and fucking it, right? So it's a very distinct question. It's a very easy yes or no to come about, but it's a dominance energy, but it's also a creation energy of what that is. And it's not a dominance energy in the sense that you are being a jerk or anything along those lines. I want to make sure that's abundantly clear. It's more of an energy around, are the things that you are doing, lining up with your purpose?
It's a worthiness, right, as well. If you are saying, yes, I am bending the world over in alignment with my purpose, boom, that's because I'm taking what's mine. I'm taking it. Like there's more than enough for me and for everybody else. And I'm taking my share right now. And I think a distinction here that's important to make as well is, this isn't about just the action of penetrating the world. Because if it's just an action of penetration, without an element of being with this, so you're actually with the experiences that you're having and you're receiving those experiences and they're filling your cup and your cup is overflowing, without that side to this, then it just becomes another act. And part of, by default, the way that you penetrate the world is to receive it. It's like sex with your woman, right? It's going to be a two-way thing in order to have really great sex. It's going to be a two-way giving and receiving. And that's not about who's in the dominant position, let's say, or who's giving or receiving, but the actual experience is one where you will give and receive sexually. I think it's a really important distinction to make, because I think some guys, maybe, I know if I would have listened to this maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I might have said that, I am penetrating the world, but it came from a place of hustling. It came from a very different energy, which really, in essence, wasn't penetrating the world, because it was a busyness. It was a chaos. It wasn't a steadfast presence that I was going into the world with, that was aligned to a deeper core purpose of mine, and one that then filled me up.
Well, I think that's the difference, right? Does it fill you up? Just like good sex can leave you energized versus tired if you're doing it right. So there's lots of ways of thinking about this, but to your point with your friend going to Rome, does that fill your cup? Are you actually sucking the marrow out of life? There's all kinds of analogies that people have used over the years, but are you serving your higher purpose? Are you really going after it? Or are you just playing a role in somebody else's story, right? Mm-hmm. Are you just working? And I've been guilty of this, Tim, where you just grind it out, you work, and then you come home and hey, honey, can you take out the trash? Yes, dear. I'll take out the trash. And I'll fix the car. And then I'll do this. And then I'm going to help this person out. All the while, not doing it for me out of a feeling of guilt, right? Guilt was my thing, right? I feel guilty if I go on that trip to Rome, or I feel guilty if I stay an extra day or two in Tulum with Tim and Arthur or whatever, and we do some fun stuff. I mean, gosh, you and I were in the Sahara Desert not 6 months ago or so, right? Or I don't even know how long it was, but we were doing cool stuff. Totally different paradigms there, right? So for the men listening to this, I think where it comes in is, are you living to the fullest? We talk about stepping to the line, but also filling your cup. Or are you just being a bystander in your life and letting life go by, hoping it's going to get better someday? Right.
And, there might be some guys listening as well. I know I keep putting myself in the position of where these guys may be and trying to think back to, where I was 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I think the story or the objection that might have come up for me was, yeah, but it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as just penetrating the world like that. I've got responsibilities. I've got things I've got to do. I've got, so what would you say in that instance?
I'd say, yeah, look at those and look at your excuse. I've got responsibilities. You've got responsibilities, but look at where your life is. And are you serving yourself, or are you using those responsibilities as excuses? Right. So there's definitely guys listening to this, and I've been in this situation where it's like, yeah, but when I get an extra $100,000, or maybe it's 10 grand, or maybe it's $1 million, whatever it is, the number is, then I can go to Rome in your instance, right? Or when I get the business to this certain place where we have a sales team in place and, yada, 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 then I can go to Rome. Now, every season's different and you need to be honest with yourself. But if the season's been 3 years, that's not a friggin' season anymore. That's a bigger cycle we're talking about. And so you want to start looking at it, but also be reasonable here. I think there is some chances to be reasonable. So you and I talk about this a lot, back and forth. Like, we're humans. So we might start complaining about, I want to go on this trip or that trip. And then we get to realize that several times a year, you and I are flying all over the world, helping men change their whole destinies and lives. And then we do some cool stuff along the way. Right. So we get that. So to be moaning and complaining about it, you got to really kind of look at it objectively and go, okay, what's really going on here? And you also don't have to go to Rome to fill your cup, guys. Right. You can do it with some simple practices like going for a walk outside, right? Taking that break at your computer, getting up and getting out of the office, or coming home and someone saying, hey, will you do this for me? That's a request. No, right now I'm doing something else. I'll be happy to help you another time. Right. When someone tells you you're being selfish, all they're saying is you're being selfish because you're not doing what I want you to do, which is the ultimate selfish act. Right. And people forget that.
I love it when I get called selfish. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Which is a total paradigm shift, because it reminds me that I'm putting my needs first. And I'm not a jerk with it, but I realize that in order for me to penetrate the world, my needs come first. When my needs come first, I'm then better for Amelia. I'm better for the men. I'm better for the business, my family, for everything's better when I'm honoring myself.
Well, yeah. And anybody that tells you you're being selfish is being selfish in that moment, right? That's the ironic part of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
they want you to serve them.
Yeah. And it really becomes a question of standards as well, right? What is a standard that you are no longer willing to play at? Or what is a standard you are committed to playing at, rather? If it's a standard of you to penetrate the world, which may mean that, I don't know, whatever rule that is, maybe your morning routine. It might be taking Friday afternoons off. It might be once a month you do something purely for yourself. Maybe you treat yourself. Maybe, I don't know what it looks like for you, but I think the real key with this is that, the penetration of the world, one, it's such a powerful, has such a powerful domino effect in all areas of your life, because it's an energy that you start to cultivate within you and within your life. It's powerful. And then the second thing here is it really becomes a rule that you live by. You know, and the way that I like to imagine it is it's kind of like a plane, right? That's in the air, it's flying. Most of the time it's off course, but it's got a navigation system that keeps it on track, right? So for me, this whole concept of penetration is it's a guidepost. Do I live it 24/7? No, I don't, because I'm a human being and things come up and I can sometimes just forget, right? But if I have the right support around me, like you and Arthur and the other guys, and if it's on my mind and I'm journaling, it's one of my rules, then I'm never going to go too far away from it, right? I'm always going to be coming back to the concept and living it and redefining what it means to me and going again and going again and going again, right? So I think for the guys listening, if this is resonating with you, the first thing I would recommend for you to do is establish this as a rule in your life. This is a rule for me. And then start to play with what that looks like. And you can start small, you can start big, whatever, however you want to start, just start with this and make sure you set up routines. Obviously, I have the Alpha Rise and Shine routine and other routines that help me to journal and come back to this point. So maybe it's for you, it's just journaling. I don't know what it is, but establish a routine in your own life where this becomes a guidepost and keep playing with it and allow it to breathe. Just like a child, you have a baby and it starts crawling and gets up, walks and it runs. Allow this to be something that you can run with in the long term. And I think the key as well going into this is don't go into it with the expectation of what it's going to do in your business and your relationship, because then it's going to take you completely out of the experience that you're meant to have when you are penetrating the world. And I highly encourage you to do this.
Absolutely. I mean, this is your life, guys. This is your one chance, your one shot at it. And, you know, some of you, and even listening to this and thinking about it, Tim, as we're talking about it, I'm like, am I bending the world over right now? Or is this like really bad foreplay that's going on? And, you know, my answer is no. And we're doing some epic things in the world, you and I. And, you know, the answer is no for me. And it's not a negative thing. It's just it's a good yardstick or a measuring stick for where you are in life. And as you evolve, right, what are your standards? What's acceptable to you? And what have you? Because I know a lot of guys are going, well, geez, you're going to Mexico and that I wish I could do that. It's your standards, right? And as your standards grow, what are you doing? Are you playing full out? And it's a really interesting thing, like you said, to add to your routine and add to your reflection going through. So guys, that's a wrap for us here at the Powerful Man Show. Make sure you go over to thealphareset.com to get more trainings from Tim, the Powerful Man himself, and also to check out if it's a right fit for you. And gentlemen, make sure you are taking toll, making sure you are actually looking at your life, make sure you are actually taking action. That's the key. All right, guys, until next time, we'll see you on another episode of the Powerful Man Show.